Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name's Emily and I love to talk about books. We are officially well over halfway through the year. I'm a little late on this video. This is my mid-year book tag. So I'm going to be answering a series of 15 questions regarding the books that I've read so far this year. I'm so excited about the books that I have read. Everything from Pulitzer Prize-winning classics to young adult fantasy. I've read some books that I loved and I can't wait to talk to you about some of the standouts from this year. So let's just get right into it. The first question is the best book that I've read in 2025. The best book that I've read in 2025 so far, and it's not even close, is Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. This was a book club pick, and I truly don't know if I would have ever picked it up had I not had to read it for my book club. And oh my gosh, I am so grateful that I did, because this book was one of the most perfect books I've ever read in my life. If you love character development, a strong, unique voice, discussion of really important issues, this is the book for you. This book for me exemplified how much you can learn from a fiction novel versus a nonfiction novel by being in someone's shoes and understanding how their life can unfold. It discusses the opioid crisis and how it impacts children and struggling communities, and it does it in a voice that is just so unique. Demon's voice is something that I will always remember. The audiobook, I listened to portions of it as audio, I thought was equally as great. So if you are hesitant to pick up something like this physical, definitely would also recommend the audiobook. I just think this is such an important topic to discuss, and I think Barbara Kingsolver discussed it in the most gracious and comprehensive way that anyone can. It's such a heavy topic that I think could have been so sad, and it was a really sad book, but it also provided a lot of hope. It is a lot more character heavy, and some of the people in my book club that tend towards more plot driven books versus character driven didn't like this as much, so that's something to keep in mind, but I still think it's a really important read. It won a Pulitzer and a forever place in my heart and on my recommendations list. The second question is the best sequel that you've read so far this year, and that is another easy pick for me. I listened to it as an audiobook on a road trip, so I don't have it physically, but it's The Wicked King by Holly Black. This was the second book in the Cruel Prince series. I did not expect to love this series as much as I did. I feel like I'm not usually like a book talk reader, and this is a big book talk book, but I think that this one holds up in terms of being just like such a great plot. I think the characters are really unique for a young adult fantasy novel. We have like a really angry main character. I thought the romance was fun. Like, it's truly a fun, fast-paced read. The sequel was even better than the first book. I will say I haven't read a lot of sequels this year, so the pool was small to pull from, but The Wicked King was a 5-star read for me. I loved it so much. It is a young adult fantasy series, so you do have more young adult characters, and I feel like there's an element of like cheesiness that can come with a young adult novel, so go in knowing that it's a young adult novel, but oh my gosh, they definitely deserve a place in the rotation. I love fantasy. I love reading a fantasy series in the summer. There's just something about that. I know that it's typically a genre that's associated with fall, but for me, a good fantasy series, it just feels like good summer reading. A new release that I haven't read yet but want to is going to go to Problematic Summer Romance by Ali Hazelwood. I've never read anything by Ali Hazelwood, so this will be my first book, and it's for a book club, so I have to read it. I am excited to develop my own opinion on Ali Hazelwood. There are some romance authors that I really like. I'm not a romance genre hater by any means, but it's just not one of my preferred genres. So I always get excited to read a romance book because I think it's important as someone that wants to be a well-rounded reader to read multiple genres and push myself out of what I consider my favorite genre. I've heard really good things about Ali Hazelwood from romance lovers and non-romance lovers, so I think that I'm in for a treat, and I can't wait to discuss with you all. If you've read Ali Hazelwood, let me know your favorite. Ali Hazelwood novel. My most anticipated new release for this year, Calabasas by R.F. Kuang, is something that I am so sat for. Ridiculously sat, completely sat. I'm so ready. Calabasas follows two graduate students as they journey through hell. And it's got like Dante's Inferno references, and I know R.F. Kuang talked in an interview about needing to learn like different mathematical theories, and I just feel like everything I hear about it, it ticks a box of something that I really love in a book, like a dark academia vibe. It's reminding me of Ninth House a little bit based on what I've heard about it. I'm so excited to read something else by her, especially something that's like Greek mythology leaning, dark academia. Like there's just so much about it that I love, that I'm considering taking a day off of work and binging. The biggest surprise this year is True Grit by Charles Portis. This is a Western novel. I was in a Western reading mood. I read many Westerns this year, and this was my very favorite. There's a movie about it that I thought was equally as good as the book, which is so impressive. This book followed Maddie Ross, who is one of the coolest characters ever. She's a young girl avenging the death of her father. She teams up with a sheriff and a Texas Ranger, I believe. Her sense of humor is just unlike any that I've ever read. She's very stoic and dry and not purposefully funny, but says just the funniest things. And she's such a strong-willed character that knows what she wants and sets out after it. She was so fun to read from the perspective of. And then the movie was awesome. Haley Steinfeld, I think, was the main character when she was younger, and it was truly so good, such a vibe. I think if you want to get into Westerns, this is a great book because it's a little shorter too. Donna Tartt did the afterword in this book, and she's just such a accomplished author, and to hear her talk about how much she loved this book and how she loved it growing up makes so much sense in terms of just like good literature. I don't even know how to explain what I'm trying to say. 100% recommend this. Get into the Western genre. It's so fun. The sixth question is favorite author, either debut or new to you. This year I read my first R.F. Kuang book. I started with A Poppy War. This kind of starts out in like a school setting, and then it turns into the most unique war plot ever. This book has so many things that I love in a book: psychedelics, morally gray characters, meditation, gods, the atrocities of war, and kind of the moral implications with fighting and death and the decisions that we make and the consequences of them. This was also based on true events, so R.F. Kuang just shows not only how great of an author she is, but how she can base her fiction in actual events that happened in the past. I can't even believe that this is her debut novel. Like, I'm like, surely that's not true. I feel like it's kind of accepted that she's like one of the greatest authors of our generation. I've only read one book by her, so I feel like I can't confirm or deny that, but based on this book, I see what people are talking about. I know I need to read Babel. I know that I would love Babel. I don't know if I will get to it before Calabasas comes out, so that might be my second book by her. We will chat about it though, regardless. Number 7, newest fictional crush, Carden and Jude from The Cruel Prince. If you can't tell, I just finished the third book in that series, so it is fresh on my mind. I love them so much. I'm incapable of being casual about The Cruel Prince, and I don't think that I have any desire to, and I'm in love with them both. Number 8, a book that made you cry. Honestly, most books will get me to shed a tear, especially nonfiction books. Something about an author reading an audiobook and talking about something that happened in their life and what they overcame. I just will be shedding tears. The book that emotionally devastated me this year was only 62 pages long, Brokeback Mountain by Annie Proulx. I cannot believe how sad that book was. I've never seen the movie, so I was not expecting it, and the short length of that book, I feel like, was very intentional to show you how short of a time we can be on this earth and have another person, like how short a life can be and how short a love can be. And it literally felt like getting stabbed in the heart. I'm like trying to forget this book so that I can feel happy again. I need to watch the movie still, but I don't know if I am emotionally prepared to watch a full movie of that book. Annie Proulx also wrote a Pulitzer Prize winning novel called The Shipping News. I have not checked that one out. I don't know if that one's also really sad, but definitely on my radar. I've been really interested in the Pulitzers interest this year in trying to like read more through the Pulitzer Prize winning books. And I think that was mostly sparked by Demon Copperhead because I love that book so much. And I was like, what else won this prize? I need to read them all. Number 9 is a book that made you happy. We Love You Bunny by Mona Awad. My first ever physical arc of a book made me so happy. I sent an email to the publisher and I was like, hey, my bunny video is my best video. I loved Bunny. I love talking about Bunny. Please give me We Love You Bunny as an arc. And they didn't respond and I bumped it at the top of their inbox. I used to do sales. I'm not afraid. I was like, hi, it's me again. And they delivered. They sent this to my address. I got to read it and it was so good. I wrote a more in-depth review on Goodreads, but Mona Awad's writing makes me so happy because it's so unique and interesting and it pushes against the bounds of what you think fiction can be. And it's funny, it's playful, it's devastating. The prose is incredible. The characters come alive off the page. Mona Awad is literally like in a league all of her own. If you haven't read anything by Mona Awad, drop all expectations of what you think a book is and what a book can be and pick up her book and get ready to enter into a fever dream that has multiple meanings for every event that could happen in it. I wasn't sure if I would enjoy reading more Bunny because I feel like one of the great things about Bunny was the ambiguous ending that really made you guess and theorize and rabbit hole about what could have possibly happened. And I didn't know if this would give an explanation and therefore take away something that I really liked about Bunny, but it didn't. If anything, it raised more questions. It kind of like sort of confirmed a theory that I had in my video and then raised 100 more questions. So like Mona Awad just continues to shine. I love a fairy tale and I feel like sometimes when I think of fairy tales, we think of lighthearted and like lovey, but fairy tales are dark. Like the original Brothers Grimm fairy tales are very, very dark and not what we know from Disney. And I feel like Mona Awad just captures the essence of like a dark, slippery fairy tale. Number 10, the most beautiful book that you've bought this year or received. I don't have anything for this, I don't think. None of the covers of the books that I have really been like calling my name. Skip. Number 11, what books do I need to read by the end of the year? The Cruel Prince left a void in my heart, and it's a fantasy-shaped void. So my next read is going to be One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. I don't know what I'm going to read after that, but One Dark Window is on the docket. Also the duology that follows the Cruel Prince series, I will be reading that as well. But I think I'm going to start One Dark Window first so that I'm not like completely devastated by not having any more of Holly Black's Elfhame world ahead of me because I get so invested into a fantasy world and I get so sad when I'm taken out of it. And I know you can reread books, but like there's just nothing like being put into the world for the first time. So I want to leave the duology for after One Dark Window because I've just heard great things about One Dark Window and I think I'm going to make a reading vlog for it. So stay tuned or go pick it up so that way we can kind of read it together. Number 12 is how many 5-star reads this year, and the answer for that on Goodreads, where I typically round up a 4.5 or a 4.75 to a 5-star, is 12 books. But on Storygraph, where you can do the quarter-star ratings, I've only rated 7, a true 5-star book. Those were We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson, The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman, The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, Outlawed by Anna North, Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kinsolver, and The Wicked King by Holly Black. I rated the first book, The Cruel Prince, a 4 stars, and then the second book a 5 stars, and then in Storygraph I gave this book, The Queen of Nothing, I gave it a 4.75, which honestly I don't love quarter ratings because I feel like if I didn't have quarter ratings, if I only had half, this would be 5 stars. I think sometimes the quarter rating is just like, okay, 4.75 like is kind of a 5-star read. Let me know if you agree with that because I feel like I'm just bad at giving books a numerical rating, which is so ironic because I am a numbers person, but it's very hard to assign a value to a piece of literature such as. Number 13, what books do you want to reread this year? I am not a huge rereader because I feel like there's just always something that I'm like getting myself excited to read next. So I'm not like typically rereading books. I have a handful of books like The Alchemist and A Wrinkle in Time that I reread on a regular basis, but I don't have any that I'm like super excited to reread, aside from Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. This is the first book in a trilogy that I read a couple of years ago, and this is another young adult fantasy. I love a young adult fantasy, and this was so whimsical, and I've just been wanting to add as much magic and whimsy into my life as possible, and I feel like reading is a great way to do that. So if I get to a point where I really need to be in another world that I love, and I don't have a young adult fantasy or a regular fantasy that I'm excited about, I will be turning back to Once Upon a Broken Heart. I only liked the first 2 books in the series. I did not like the third. This is something that is potentially going to be a reread soon if I feel like I need it. Number 14, a book that you enjoyed with mixed reviews, and that would be The Girls by Emma Cline. I'm not going to talk about this too much because I talked about it in 2 other videos. One with Marissa from Margins of Marissa. She picked this book for me based off of a mood board, and at the same time as she picked it, I was doing a reading the highest and lowest rated books on my shelf, and this was the lowest rated book on my physical TBR. I ended up really loving it. I think I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. So if you want to hear me talk more about that book, definitely go watch the other 2 videos that I have this featured in, because I had a lot to say about it. I had a lot to say on Goodreads about it, but I thought that it was really great. It reminded me of kind of like a Gillian Flynn, Lolita, like culty coming of age, very dark, disturbing, but really good. And then finally, number 15, 5-star predictions for the rest of the year. 2 of them. One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig is up next to fill the Cruel Prince shaped void in my heart, and I think that I will really love that one. There's 2 girls that I follow on booktube, Taylor Tippett and Heather McLary, and they both rated the book 4.5 stars and said that it had like a Harry Potter, like dark magic kind of vibe, and that is so up my alley. And then seeing that review, I also may read the final book in the Harry Potter series because I don't think I've ever actually read that. So those would be my 2 5-star predictions, but I don't know what else I'm going to read because I wasn't expecting to get so into the Cruel Prince and want to continue down the fantasy rabbit hole. I feel like what I do is like read a Western that I like, and then I want to read a bunch more Westerns, and then I like read a fantasy book and I'm like, okay, I want to read some more fantasy. So I kind of like am a mood reader, but I will read multiple of the same genre. At least that's kind of the pattern that's been emerging this year. I don't know where that will take me. I have a bunch of books in my physical TBR that I have no desire to read within the next like couple months, so hopefully I will start to want to read some of the books that I have. Stay tuned for a One Dark Window vlog. Read it with me. I've heard only amazing things. Let me know in the comments what your favorite book of this year so far has been so that I can add even more books to my TBR list. Thank you so much for watching. I love you so much. Especially thank you if you've been like watching me even through this period of extreme inconsistency. It's like not the right thing to do when you're trying to build a channel to upload once every 2 months, once every 3 months. I'm going to try to get more consistent, so let me know what you want to see from me. I think my favorite videos that I have and the ones that have performed the best are the reviews of individual books, so I'm going to try to start doing that more regularly, starting with One Dark Window. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you want to see. Let me know what you love to read, and I will talk to you on the next one. Bye!